Alright. Hello everyone, welcome to the stream. Okay. I'm doing a few little things on and off the stream. Hello there, Snacks. How are you doing today? Okay. How far did we get into this book? Just keep my bookmark there. Okay. Ah, okay, so we're at the part where he does the whole flag formation. Okay. You read manhwa? Yes, I do. At the moment, I've, for the longest time, been obsessed with Modazushi, which is on the screen. And I've also been obsessed with Heaven Official's Blessing. So I still need to continue reading the comic or the manhwa for that. I also have 2 of the novel books as well for Heaven Official's Blessing. I need to get the other... I think there's like 1 or 2 more manhwas I need to get for Modazushi. I have all the novels for Modazushi, I just don't have all the manhwas for it. So I need to get those books. And I need to get 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 volumes for Heaven Official's Blessing as well. Hello, the Vishesh. Welcome to the stream. Not novel, right? Novel is different to manhwa. Manhwa is basically like manga. The Japanese, well, the Chinese version of manga. Donghua is basically the Chinese version of anime. So, for example, a Japanese anime would be something like Naruto, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Dragon Ball, and stuff like that. Whereas Chinese anime is known as Chinese Donghua, and 2 of those that I really like watching is Heaven Official's Blessing and Modazushi. And obviously we have the novel books, and then we also have the manhwa books, which obviously they are online and stuff that you can just read, but I like to have the books so that I can just go flip back and forth to the different pages and stuff of the manhwa. And then there's also the audio dramas, which you can find online. There's also the live action shows on Netflix, and I think Heaven Official's Blessing is going to get a live action as well. I think it's still in the makes, so we just got to see on that. Japanese manga, Korean manhwa. Ah, that's what it was. Korean manhwa. Manhwa. I don't know how to actually say it compared to Chinese manhwa. I think, is it the same pronunciation as the Korean? I'm not quite sure. I try to get involved with like different types of Chinese, Japanese, Korean, like BL stuff, because I like obviously Modazushi, I like Heaven Official's Blessing, but I've also tried to get myself into Scum Villain's self-saving system, as well as Husky and his White Cat Shizune. So hopefully I'll get into that, but I want to read the novels for both Modazushi and Heaven Official's Blessing first, and I think I need to watch Scum Villain's self-saving system, so... Okay, I need to mute that, that's fine. Okay, I need to do that. And of course, that's going weird. That's a lot of books? Yes, it's a lot of books. Well, put it this way, I have 5 novel books for Modazushi. I have 3 manhwa books for the Modazushi, so 5. I have 8 books in total for Modazushi. Then I have 2 books at the moment, or 2 novel books for Heaven Official's Blessing, 8 of the 8 in the series. So, yeah. And then I also have some other manga and stuff for Naruto in my, like, drawer thing. But I like reading Mother Zushi and Heaven Official's Blessing because I'm obsessed at the moment. So, yeah. I don't remember even what chapter I was on the manhwa on Heaven Officials. I've already finished and completed the entirety of the manhwa for Mother Zushi. That's why I want to try and read the novels, because everything that's in the donghua and the manhwa you don't get to see in the novel, or you don't get to hear from the novel because of like the Chinese laws and stuff like that. So everything in the live action, the manhwa, the donghua, you don't see all of like the good stuff, like the juicy stuff, like the kissing scenes, the sex scenes. You don't see any of that because of the Chinese laws and stuff. It's kind of annoying, but it is what it is. She really enjoys the BL culture? Hell to the yes. I'm all for it. But yeah, we're gonna continue today with reading the book again. If you guys want to know what the book is, it is The Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation. It is on the screen for you as well. This is the cover for this book. If you want to go check it out for yourself, then you can. But we're going to continue off on page 36, where I believe Wei Wuxian gave back the flag formation thing so that the disciples of the Lan Clan can do what they need to do so that they can trap evil spirits and stuff. He opened his eyes just as a number of servants charged in. The entire courtyard was lit up as bright as day, and someone was shouting, "Drag that murdering lunatic to the main hall and make him pay with his life." Wei Wuxian's first thought was, did something go wrong with those youths' flag formation? The smallest carelessness in the usage of his inventions could cause disaster, which was why he had earlier purposely gone to verify whether the spirit attraction flag was properly drawn. Thus, when those large hands came to drag him out of the door, Wei Wuxian lay there limply, allowing himself to be dragged out. It saved him the trouble anyway. He was dragged to the East Hall, where it was as lively as could be. Surprisingly, there was no fewer townspeople gathered than there had been during the day. Many of the servants and close family relations had come, some still dressed in their inner robes, not having had time to coif their hair. Panic painted on each of their faces. Lan equals... yeah, adore, yeah. Remember, we love the Lan Clan. We love Lan Chan and Wei Wuxian, obviously. We hate Jin Gongyao, because he's a conniving little bastard. And... who else do we like? Oh, the number 1 shipper for Wangshen. Wangshen is their ship name. Wei Wuxian and Lan Wangji, their ship name is Wangshen. So the number 1 shipper for Wangshen is Lan Wangji's brother. His name is Lan Huan. Lan Huan? Yeah. Lan. Yeah. I keep on forgetting people's names, I'm not gonna lie to you. But his actual name is Lan Xijian. And he's definitely the number 1, like, shipper for both of them. He just wants his brother to be happy. It's so funny. Lady Mo sat slumped in her seat as if she had only just awoken from having fainted. There were traces of tears on the sides of her cheeks, the rims of her eyes still wet. However, the moment Wei Wuxian was dragged in, her tears instantly transferred into baleful glare. On the ground, there lay something that resembled the form of a human. The body was covered by a white sheet, and only its head was exposed. Lan Sidgwick and those youths were bent down over it and inspecting the body solemnly and whispering to each other. Their words filtered into Wei Wuxian's ears. It hasn't been one incense time since he was discovered. Right after subduing the walking corpses, we were rushing to the east courtyard, and the dead body was lying there in the corridor. Gong hate. Yeah, Nancy Chen is one of us. We're the shippers. This body was Mo Ziyuan. Wei Wuxian swept a glance over him, then took another look in spite of himself. This corpse looked like Mo Ziyuan, but at the same time not. While the facial features were clearly that of his cheap little cousin, the cheeks were deeply sunken, the eyeballs bulging, and the skin wrinkled. It was as if he had aged 20 years compared to the previous Mo Ziyuan, who had been in the prime of his youth. It also almost seemed as if he had been sucked dry of his blood and flesh. He looked like a mere sack of bones dressed in an extremely thin veil of skin. If it could have been said that the Mo Ziyuan from before was simply ugly, then his corpse now was old and ugly. That's a good statement. Wei Wuxian was just taking a detailed look when Madame Mo suddenly came charging over. Something shining, flashing in her hand. She was holding a dagger. Moving as fast as his eyes saw, Lan Sidgwick knocked it out of her hand. But before he could say anything, Madame Mo was already screaming at him. "My son died a tragic death. I need to avenge him. What are you stopping me for?" Wei Wuxian once again ducked behind Lan Sidgwick and shot back. "What does your son's tragic death have to do with me?" Lan Sidgwick had watched Wei Wuxian make a scene during the day, then later heard plenty of exaggerated rumors about his illegitimate son from the others. He felt great pity for this mentally ill person and couldn't help but try and speak up for the man. "Madame Mo, the state of your son's corpse is clearly the work of evil. Its blood, flesh, and spirit have been completely sucked out. He could not be the culprit." Madame Mo's chest heaved. "What do you know? This lunatic's father is a cultivator, so he must have learned plenty of evil magic." Totally my relatives. Oh. Oh no, what the hell's going on? Okay. Oh, okay. I like how Sidgwick is being a little... Oh. Also guys, just like on the offside, Robin's new album is out and you can check it out. If you go to Star Rail right now, you can go into the mailbox and you should get a mail. Oh no, my voice. You should get like a mail thing and you can listen to the soundtrack. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, what was I saying? I think Sidgwick is like really cool in this situation because he sticks up for wink wink Wei Wuxian because he feels bad because of his illness and everything, wink wink. But the fact that he stands up for him just makes him just as adorable as anything. and he should definitely be protected. Like, we gotta love Siduri. Siduri is like, like the best child you could ever like have. And I'm not gonna spoil it if people don't know about Mother Zushi and stuff, so we're just gonna say now that he is to be protected always, because he's amazing. Lan Sidri looked back and took a glance at the seemingly half-witted Wei Wuxian. Madam, there is no evidence, so it is still best. The evidence is on my son's body. Madame Mo pointed at the corpse on the ground. Take a look yourselves. Ayuan's dead body has already told me who his murderer is. Cherish, hell yes. Without waiting for the others to make a move, Wei Wuxian raced to pull back the sheet from head to toe. Mo Ziyuan's corpse had something missing. His left arm, from the shoulder down, had vanished as if it had sprouted wings. Imagine sprouting wings. Who is this? Sunday from Star Rail? Like, come on. Or me? Oh. Madame Mo added, you see that? You all heard him today, right? What this lunatic said? That if Ayuan touched his things again, he would chop off Ayuan's arm. After her hysterics had settled, she covered her face and sobbed. My poor Ayuan never touched anything of this lunatic's. Not only was he slandered, he was killed by this maniac. Maniac. It was so endearing. How many years had it been since he'd heard himself described as such? Wei Wuxian pointed at himself, but he didn't have the words to rebuke that particular statement. He didn't know either whether he really was mental, or if Madame Mo was the one who was ill. After all, he had boasted about slaughtering entire sects, laying waste to millions, making blood flow like rivers, and other such things when he was younger. But that was all talk, most of the time. Most of the time, wink wink. If he really could do all that, he would have tyrannized the world already. Madame Mo wasn't trying to avenge her son at all. She was only looking for someone to vent her anger on. Wei Wuxian didn't want to bother with her. After a moment of thought, he reached into Mo Ziyuan's robes and searched, finally digging something out. Oh shit. When he unfolded that something, it was a spirit attraction flag. In that instant, it dawned on him. He muttered under his breath. Mo Ziyuan brought this on himself. When Lan Sidri and the others saw the item taken out of Mo Ziyuan's robes, they also understood what had happened. Thinking back to the farce that had taken place during the day, it wasn't hard to deduce what had transpired. Earlier, Mo Ziyuan had lost considerable faith due to Mo Xuanyu's hysterics, filling him with hatred. He'd had a mind to settle scores, but Mo Xuanyu had gone out frolicking, nowhere to be found. So Mo Ziyuan intended to wait until the night time to teach Mo Xuanyu an unhanded lesson. Yet when night came and he snuck out of the door, as he passed by the west courtyard, he saw the spirit attraction flags planted atop the wall I cannot speak. Planted atop the wall eaves. While there were strict instructions against outings at night, and that the west courtyard was forbidden, and that those black flags were not to be touched under any circumstances. Mo Ziyuan thought that was the cultivators purposely scaring people off because they were afraid of others stealing their precious spiritual weapons. He was unaware of just how dangerous and ominous the effects of the spirit attraction flags were, and that once held, a flag would make the bearer a living target. Yeah, I really can't read today, it's insane. Mo Ziyuan's hands had never been clean. He'd grown addicted to stealing the talismans and spiritual tools belonging to his crazy older cousin. When he saw the magical objects, he couldn't help but feel the itch to take them for himself, no matter the cost. Thus, while the owners of the flags were subduing walking corpses in the west courtyard, he secretly plucked one away. The flag formation utilized 6 spirit attraction flags, 5 of which were set up in the west courtyard using those youths from the Lan family as bait. However, they themselves were protected by the countless spiritual tools carried on their persons. Although Mo Ziyuan had only stolen the one flag, he didn't have any protective tools on him. Go after the weakest, as they say? Naturally, the evil spirits were lured to him. If it had only been walking corpses, then it wouldn't have been a big deal. At most, he'd have been bitten a couple of times. Bitten. It wouldn't have resulted to his death. There would still have been a chance to save him. Yet, it just so happened that this spirit attraction flag had unintentionally summoned something more terrifying than walking corpses, and it was precisely this unknown evil spirit that had killed Mo Ziyuan and robbed him of an arm. Wei Wuxian raised his wrist. Sure enough, a cut on his left arm had healed. It seems the sacrificial ritual had acknowledged Mo Ziyuan's death as his doing. After all, the spirit attraction flag was Wei Wuxian's invention, so he'd hit the mark out of pure luck. Madame Mo was perfectly aware of her son's little flaws, but she would never admit Mo Ziyuan had caused his own death. Anxious and Anxious and aggravated. I don't know what that means. Aggravated. Oh, I can't speak. Anxious and aggravated, she picked up a teacup and held it at Wei Wuxian's face. A teacup. If you hadn't made a scene and framed him in front of so many people yesterday, would he have gone out in the middle of the night? It's all your fault, you bastard. Wei Wuxian was already prepared and sidestepped to dodge the attack. Madame Mo then screamed at Lan Sidhui. And you bunch of useless fools! What cultivators are you? What evil can you exercise? You can't even protect a child. Ayuan is so young. Those youths were still green, and only had so much experience under their belt. They hadn't detected anything unusual in this area, which was why they'd never thought there'd be such a ferocious evil. At this point in the animation, so the donghua, I think Lan Sidhui has a fist and tries to calm himself because he's so pissed off at Madame Mo, because she's just blaming everyone for her son's death instead of himself. So Lan Sidhui is trying to calm himself down, but he has his fist, which is shaking because like he's having it so tense. But good on him though, he did keep his cool and he did calm himself after a little bit. If someone gets crushed to death by a piano, the guy who invented the piano is at fault. No. It's not the guy who created the piano whose fault it is. If someone gets crushed to death by a piano, it depends on how the piano crushes the guy. Like, was it on purpose? Did someone push it? Was it on a ledge or something? How close was someone to the piano? Like, how did the entire thing situate? There's a lot of different things that we could say. I forgot what I was even gonna say. Okay, that's cool. Okay. At first they'd been quite sorry because they felt themselves lacking, but after Madame Mo's indiscriminate tongue lashing, they were growing upset. After all, they came from a distinguished clan. No one had ever dared treat them this way. The teachings of the Lan clan of Gosu were extremely strict. I'm not even kidding, guys. They were extremely strict. They have, like, I think originally they had 3,000 rules at Gosu Lan clan, but now I think they have, like, 5,000 rules in this particular part of the story. So, you can see how strict this clan can be. But they are a nice group of people, I guess. Well, most of them. They forbid raising a hand against normal folk, and not even rudeness was allowed. Even though they were irritated, they had to force it down, causing dark expressions to cloud their faces. Wei Wuxian couldn't take it anymore. He thought, after so many years, the Lan family still acts this way. What's the use of all that self-restraint unless you're looking to suffocate yourselves? Watch me. Easy to be unknown. Oh, that's funny. He spat loudly. Who do you think you're yelling at? Do you really take them to be your servants? They came all this way to exercise evil for free, and now they owe you? How old is your son again? At least 17, right? A child still? How old do you have to be to understand human words? Did they not instruct us again and again yesterday not to go near the west courtyard? Not to touch anything in the formation? Your son snuck out in the middle of the night to dally about. Is that my fault? Or is it his fault? Lan Jingyi and the others let out a breath, no longer looking as upset. Madame Mo was both extremely sad and resentful, and her mind was filled with nothing but thoughts of death. More specifically, it wasn't thoughts of herself dying to accompany her son, but rather thoughts of having everyone in the world die, especially the ones currently in front of her. Whenever something happened, she'd always order her husband around, so she shoved him. Call everyone in. Call everyone in here. However, her husband was in a daze. Perhaps the shock of the death of his only son was too great, but he shoved her back, knocking down to the ground so abruptly. Madame Mo was stunned. If this had been before, Madame Mo needn't have pushed him. As long as she raised her voice a tiny bit, he'd do whatever she said. Yet today he dared fight back. If that was me, I wouldn't be in a relationship where, like, if she raised her voice a little bit, you would have to do everything that she said. Like, if that's the type of relationship that you're in, get out of it as soon as possible. Don't stay with them. Even if you do have a child with them, like, take care of the child, but, like, don't stay in that relationship. Like, that just seems like a red flag, like a massive red flag. The servants were all terrified by her expression, and a trembling Aiding helped her stand. Madame Mo grabbed her heart and said with a shaky voice, You get lost too." Her husband seemed not to have heard. Aiding shot Atong a number of looks, and Atong quickly dragged his master out. It was chaos within the East Hall. Seeing how the family was finally quietening down, Wei Wuxian went to inspect the corpse further. However, he had barely glanced at it before another high-pitched scream pierced through the door. The crowd inside the hall poured out and were greeted with the sight of two bodies spasming on the ground in the east courtyard. One was a slumped Atong, alive. The other was collapsed on the ground. Its body wriggled and withered as if its blood and flesh had been completely sucked dry. Its left arm had already gone, and there was no blood flowing from the wound. The state of this corpse was exactly the same as Mo Ziyuan's. Madame Mo had just shaken off Aiding's supporting hand, but when she saw that corpse lying on the ground, she was stunned in place. At last, exhausted of the energy to throw more fits, she fainted. Wei Wuxian happened to be standing near her, so he caught her and passed her to Aiding as she came running over. He then took a glance at his right hand. A cut there was gone as well. Madame Mo's husband had only stepped out onto the threshold of the hall. He hadn't even entered the yard before he died tragically on the spot. Everything had happened within an instant. Lan Sijui, Lan Jingyi, and the others paled, but Lan Sijui was the first to compose himself, of course. He questioned the slumped Atong. "Did you see what it was?" This reading of Grandmaster, sponsored by Wei Ming, had complimentary relationship with one of my classes. Wow, it's like a fact of like real life, not just in books. I mean, most books, or at least the factual books, are composed of real life things. And I also forgot to mute the goddamn BGM. I do apologize. I've only just realized that the BGM was even on. Usually I would take that off so that there wouldn't be... I don't know, do you guys prefer the music on or off when I'm reading? Because I think the last stream when I read, it was not on. Do you prefer it on or off? If you prefer it on, I'll keep it on. If not, then I can just carry on reading. Was on to set the mood or something. Well, to be fair, this is a Chinese novel, but the BGM is Japanese. Which is surprising. I like Japanese BGM. I also like Chinese BGM. To be fair, I like a lot of BGM stuff. Volume could be a little lower? Okay. Please let me know if that's okay. Actually, can I make the preview? Let's see if this is any well. Fits with the Chinese manhwa reading, yeah. Oh my god. I'm hoping, because I have my tab open for the stream as well, so I'm trying to hear it myself as well. I mean, it is quite quiet at the moment. Maybe +1 or +2 on the volume. I'm basically dragging the scale, like, thing. I'm just gonna put my bookmark in here so I don't have to keep on pushing the book. I think that's okay. I don't know if it's okay for you. But to be fair, is the BGM okay, or should I put it up or down? Tiny bit up, okay. Let's see what happens with this. And for some reason my screen just went weird. I'm gonna refresh. Okay. It's fine? All good? Okay. Making sure that my stream tab is open. Okay, no, I can just do that, that's fine. Alright. Usually I would have this soundtrack on in the Let's Chat screen, but I think for some reason I put it on this screen as well. I don't know why, I completely forgot. Also, I don't think the chat is supposed to look like this. Oh, I need to put the bookmark back in for a second. I need to change this. Where's my filters? The right. There we go. Let's see if that looks a little better, I think. I've also got the love heart as well, so gotta love the little love heart. Can we leave a type chat? I need to set that up, but I think I have to be on Streamlabs OBS to have, like, chat properly. So at some point I'm gonna try and figure that out. I am gonna do some stuff on Streamlabs OBS anyway, because I want to see if I can do a few things. Because I, like, for example, on the gaming screen, I don't want the chat on the bottom left. I want it on the top right, like Uki does. And I don't want it so, like, weird, if you know what I mean. I want it to also fade as well, so I need to sort out that. But I think I need to be on Streamlabs OBS for that. Because I feel like if it's on the bottom left, it's, like, in the way of the actual gameplay. So I feel like top right would be a good idea. I also need to sort out, like, the bottom section of the, like, where the $sign is and the YouTube sign is. I don't really need to do the $sign at the moment because I'm not monetized or anything, but the YouTube sign, every time there's, like, a subscriber, I want it to pop up there, so I need to get Streamlabs OBS for that. And obviously for my other screens and stuff, like the Let's Chat and everything, I need to sort out how it looks and to get it fading and stuff. And this chat needs sorting as well. What is going on with this chat? Right. Just put it full like that. And then the top. I guess that will do for now. Intermission, is that okay? That's never okay because it's all squished, so that's always nice. But that's all I can do for now for that side of things. Actually, let me go to my filters real quick. Right side. We'll have to do that. I'll sort out, like, this chat thing at some point. I can't really do anything at the moment for it. But let's carry on with the reading and just go with the flow, I guess. We look weird, Chad needs to hit the gym and shape up. It's not you guys, I just need to learn how to do all the fancy stuff like other VTubers. So lanky. The other, like, parts, the other, like, screens are not bad, but the intermission screen is quite shit. So I need to figure out how to get that, like, in good, like, looks. But I think I need Streamlabs OBS for that. So I need to do some research and do some testings. Alright. Alright, let's continue. Did you see what it was? Atong was thoroughly horrified. His teeth clenched so hard that he couldn't utter a word for the moment, only shaking his head. Lansijri, burning with impatience, instructed his peers to bring the boy inside before he turned to Lan Jingyi. Did you fire the signal? I did, Lan Jingyi replied. But if there was no seniors nearby who can come to offer assistance, our people will probably take at least an hour before they can make it here. What do? We don't even know what it is right now. It was of course impossible for them to leave. If a clan's disciples only cared about escaping when running into evil spirits, then not only would they embarrass the clan, but they themselves would be too ashamed to go out again. The terrified folks of the Mo household could not leave with them either. The evil spirit was most likely among them, so it would have been useless even if they fled. Lansijri clenched his teeth. Stay on ground until help arrives. Since the distress signal was already fired, other cultivators would soon come to their aid. In order to avoid adding to the present trouble, by all accounts, Wei Wuxian should have retreated. Best if whoever came was no one he knew. If it was someone he had crossed paths with before, or had fought with, then it was hard to tell what would happen. With the sacrificial ritual's curse on him, he could not leave the Mo estate yet. Besides, if the summoned creature could take 2 lives within a short span of time, then it was abnormally ferocious. If Wei Wuxian dropped everything and left, then by the time reinforcements arrived, the entire Mo estate would have its streets filled with corpses missing their left arms, and surely some of those corpses would include the familial disciples of the Lan clan of Gusu. After a moment's deliberation, Wei Wuxian said to himself, "Let's end this quickly." Those youths were fledglings? Never heard that one before. 8 of them looking nervous. Despite that, they still scrupulously took their places to protect the Mo Manor and stuck talismans inside and outside of the hall. The servant, Atong, had already been carried inside, and Lan Sijui checked his pulse with his left hand, while his right massaged Madame Mo's back. He couldn't treat both at once, and was in a sorry dilemma when suddenly Atong crawled up from the ground. Ading exclaimed, "Atong, you're awake!" Before any delight could cross her face, Atong raised his left hand and seized his own neck. Seeing this, Lan Sijui targeted several of Atong's acupoints with a triple tap of his hand apiece. Wei Wuxian knew that while the Lan clan appeared gentle on the surface, their arm strength was not gentle in the least. Oh, yeah, I know that one. The Lan clan are pretty freaking strong. Using that method, anyone can be rendered thoroughly unable to move. However, Atong appeared not to have felt a thing. His left hand gripped harder and harder, his face scrunched more and more with pain. Lan Jingyi went over to pull at his left hand, but it was like trying to break off a chunk of iron, immovable. Moments later, crack! Atong's head dropped down, and only then did the hand let go. But his neck was already broken. He had strong fists. Like, in general, their physique is quite good because they cultivate their strength, their stamina, their ability to do a lot of physical strength and training. So the Lan clan is pretty strong and pretty well built, to be fair. Only then did the hand let go, but his neck was already broken. He had actually strangled himself before the eyes of all. Seeing this, Ading's voice trembled. A ghost! There was an invisible ghost there, and it made Atong strangle himself. Her voice was shrill and sad, raising hairs on everyone's necks. They all believed her. Wei Wuxian determined it to be the exact opposite. This wasn't a malicious ghost. He had seen talismans those youths had chosen, and they were the spirit-repelling type. They had plastered the entire East Hall with them, airtight. And pretty. I mean, they're pretty interesting people, to be fair, the Lan clan is. Quite different than most of the different clans. I mean, the Zhang sect, I feel like the Zhang sect came from people that were pretty and the clan leader at the time, was pretty insane. She was very strict, especially with her son. Well, sons. And she hated her husband for some things that will probably get mentioned later on. But she did care about all the people in the sect, and I think we'll see that maybe in this book or the next book, I'm not quite sure. But she's pretty good, I guess. She did some badass things in the Donghua as well. On obviously the Lan Clan sect, the leader was Wei Wuxian's old teacher, but now it's not. Well, at this point in time, it's not. It's actually Lan Wangji's brother. Then we have the Ni clan. Pretty strong people. The Ni clan is was ruled by a very, very, very strong and powerful swordsman. Now it's been ruled by his brother, I believe. And the Jin clan was ruled by Jin Gongyao's father. Now it's Jin Gongyao. And is there any other sects? The Wen clan was ruled by an evil bitch. And now there is no Wen clan. You'll understand why at some point. Is there any other ones that I'm missing? The Lan clan of Gosu, the Ni clan, the Jiang clan, the Jin clan, Jin, Ni, Lan, Jiang, Wen. I think those are the main 5. Then there's another sect that will get mentioned at some point, like later on down the line, near to the end. So we'll see. Okay, here we go. If this really were a malicious spirit, then those talismans would have immediately burned with green flames when it entered the East Hall. Things would not be as quiet as they were now. Don't you dare flip the page. It wasn't that this group of youths was slow to react. It was just that the intruder was truly ferocious in nature. The cultivation sects had strict criteria for determining whether something was a malicious ghost. One was considered such if it had killed once a month for up to 3 months consecutively. This was a criterion Wei Wuxian himself had set, and it was probably still in use now. Dealing with this type was his speciality, and based on what he'd seen, killing once every 7 days would make this creature a malicious ghost that caused particularly frequent mischief. However, this thing had just killed 3 times in a row, and in a short time span too. Even accomplished cultivators would have been hard-pressed to come up with a counter-strategy, never mind these novice juniors. Just as he was thinking this, the firelight flashed. A blast of sinister wind whipped by, and every lantern and every candle in the entire courtyard, including the East Hall, was extinguished. Screams erupted the instant the lights went out. The men and women pushed and shoved, falling and fleeing. Lan Jingyi shouted, "Stay where you are! Don't run! We'll arrest whoever runs!" Really? Those were not words spoken without reason. Wreaking havoc in the dark and taking advantage of confusion was the nature of evil spirits. The more people screamed and ran amok, the easier it would be to attract trouble unknowingly. It was extremely dangerous to be left alone or to lose one's head at a time like this. And yet it could not be helped that everyone was scared out of their wits. So how could they possibly pay attention to and heed any instructions? It didn't take long before the East Hall fell quiet, with only the sound of light breaths and faint sniffling. Most had probably left. In the darkness, a firelight suddenly flared. It was Lan Sidgui who had lit an illumination talisman. White hairbands. They most likely would do a spell or something and have their hands bind or something, or their legs bound or whatever, so they can stop themselves from running away and stuff. The flames of the illumination talisman could not be extinguished by the sinister wind that carried evil, and he used this talisman to relight the candles anew, while the rest of the youths went around to console the others. Under the light, Wei Wuxian took a nonchalant glance at his wrists. Another cut had healed. It was then that he suddenly realized the number of cuts were wrong. There had been 2 cuts on his left wrist and 2 on his right. One cut healed after Mo Ziyuan's death, another cut healed after the death of Mo Ziyuan's father, and then the third after the death of the servant, Aitong. Tallying that up, there should have been 3 healed cuts, leaving only the cut with the deepest wound and the deepest hatred. Lim Tang spells? Well, they are a very well cultivated and distinguished clan, so it wouldn't really surprise me. And considering the spicy stuff that happens in Wangxian, I wouldn't be surprised. But now there was nothing on his wrists. Not a single cut was left. Wei Wuxian trusted that Madame Mo was most definitely among those whom Mo Ziyuan wished to seek revenge upon. The longest and the deepest gash was likely for her, yet it had surprisingly vanished. Was it Mo Xuanyu who had suddenly let it go and abandoned his hatred? That was impossible. His soul had been sacrificed as the price for summoning Wei Wuxian. In order for the cut to heal, Madame Mo had to die. Unless... He slowly moved his gaze from his wrist to Madame Mo, who was recently roused and was surrounded by the crowd. Her face was white as a sheet. Unless she was already dead. Wei Wuxian was sure something had already possessed Madame Mo. If that thing was not a spirit, then what could it be? Suddenly, Ding cried, "Hand! Hand! Aitong's left arm!" Lan Sidgui moved the illumination talisman over Aitong's corpse. Sure enough, his left arm had also vanished. The left arm. In that flash of a second, everything was clear. The creature causing mischief and the vanishing left arm formed a connection that clicked in Wei Wuxian's mind. He suddenly snorted and burst out laughing. Lan Jingyi huffed. That dummy. How can he laugh at a time like this? But then he realized that, given the man was a dummy, what was the point of bothering with him in the first place? However, Wei Wuxian grabbed Lan Jingyi's sleeve and shook his head. No, no. Lan Jingyi irritably tried to pull his sleeve back. No what? Not a dummy? Stop playing around. No one's got time for you. Wei Wuxian pointed at Father Mo's and Atong's corpses on the ground. That's not them. Lan Sijui stopped Lan Jingyi, who was about to blow up. He asked, "You said that's not them. What do you mean?" Wei Wuxian replied solemnly, "This isn't Mo Ziwen's dad, and that's not Atong either." With his face smeared in makeup, the more solemn he was, the more it felt like he really was mentally ill. However, under the haunting candlelight, his words were surprisingly hair-raising. Lan Sijui was stunned for a moment, then questioned him in spite of himself. "Why is that?" Wei Wuxian said smugly, "Because of the hand. They're not left-handed. They always beat me with their right hands. I know that much at least." Lan Jingyi lost his patience and spat. "What are you so smug for? Look at that pleased face." Lan Sijui, however, had broken out in a cold sweat from the shock. Thinking back, Atong had strangled himself using his left hand, and when Madame Mo's husband pushed his wife down, he had also used his left hand. But during the day when Mo Xuanyu had been causing a ruckus in the East Hall, those two who had been busy trying to chase him out using their habitual right hands, surely they couldn't both have turned into left-handers all of a sudden right before their deaths. Although the cause was presently unknown, in order to investigate what was causing mischief, they had to start with those left arms. Having come to this conclusion, Lan Sijui sent a bewildered look at Wei Wuxian. Despite himself, he thought, for him to suddenly say something like that, really, doesn't seem like a coincidence. Lan Sijui is very smart. Wei Wuxian only continued to laugh cheekily, knowing that the hint had been too conspicuous. But there was no other way. Thankfully, Lan Sijui didn't dig into it, thinking, either way, since this Mogonza was willing to call attention to it for me, it most likely wasn't done out of ill intent. He moved his gaze from Wei Wuxian, swept it over Ading, who had fainted from weeping, and landed his eyes on Madame Mo. His eyes travelled down from her face to her hands. Her arms were hanging by her sides, mostly hidden in the sleeves, revealing only the tips of her fingers. The fingers of her right hand were snow-white and slim, truly the hand of a woman who lived in privilege, without the hardship of labour. However, the fingers of her left hand were longer and thicker than those of the right. The knuckles were more curled, filled with strength. How was that the hand of a woman? It was clearly the hand of a man. Now, I'm just going to say this now. We're going to find out, I don't know when in the novels, but we will find